Hi, I'm Beth for Sew Country, and today we are doing day 5 of this Sage Satchel sew along. If this is your first time finding this video, you can find this sew along is taking place in the Lanyos Handmade Facebook group. I will have a link to the description in my description for both the pattern and the Facebook group, so you can join us there and post your pictures, ask questions, and just be inspired by all the other makes other people are making. So today we are finishing up this bag. By the end of this video we should have a completed bag and be ready to show it off or use it or gift it to a friend. The first thing we need to do is we need to attach the gusset to the exterior gusset to the front of the bag. Your front of your bag is the bag with the pocket and your magnetic strap are in place. The gusset is that very long piece. Anyway, the way you attach the gusset to the front of the bag, I start clipping right along this middle bottom straight part first. The way she has wrote this gusset is that it is designed to be too long for the top. It's perfect. That's great because you don't have to worry about making it fit or anything. We already know it's going to be too long, so we can ease those curves in and take our time to make sure we get that perfect fit. I really prefer that she did it this way because it makes it much easier to sew. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, after I've clipped everything on, I'm going to start sewing with my gusset up. That way I can watch for slipping, I can make sure everything's staying connected. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all along this gusset. When I'm done, then I will trim off my extra gusset and then I can attach the bottom, the back, to the other side of the gusset. So let's get started. 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around this bag. Okay, so what I did was I sewed around the gusset at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Because my vinyl and foam is creating a very thick bag, I went ahead and did a second stitch just about a 1/16 inch of away within my seam allowance of my first row of stitches. I just wanted that extra row of stitches to take the stress off of the true seam allowance a little bit. I went ahead and trimmed down my seam allowance and just turned this so I could see what I was dealing with, and you can see it's going to look great. I'm going to flip this back, and then I'm going to do the same process for the bag back. I'm going to clip it all the way around and sew it on too. I'm going to, your bag back should not have anything on it right now, and so you're just going to do the same thing. You can match up your middles and to make sure, you know, that you get everything perfectly and lined up. So the middle of, down here at the bottom, the middle of your gusset, and do that. And just, again, attach, clip it all the way around. I start at the bottom. I haven't trimmed my top gusset yet, so you will still have that overage hanging. And then sew again at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, I'm going to put an extra row of stitches on mine. I'll trim it, and then I'll turn it. Now that you have your gusset sewn on the front and the back of your bag, you have your D-rings attached, you have your key minder if you're using it, the next thing to do is to take your flap and place it right sides together with the bag back. So here's my bag back, here's the right side, the exterior of my flap. I'm going to place them together. I'm going to center it on the top, clip that straight edge that has not been sewn yet together with the top of my back exterior, and I'm going to sew that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's pretty much a basting stitch, but I'm still going to back stitch at the edges to kind of help keep that locked in. I don't know if you can, I'll hold it this way and you can see it. So this is what we're looking at. This is my lining. This is my exterior, and I'm going to sew that. And the way I'm going to sew it is I'm going to lay my flap down, and I'm going to sew this way. This is the easiest for me. Now it's time to put everything all together. So we have our exterior completed, we have our interior completed. What we're going to do is we're going to take our interior, you know, we have that dividing pocket there. The portion with the opening in the bottom, that side of your lining is where your exterior is going to go. So we're going to go over this slowly. It's a little confusing, and make sure that you understand exactly how to do it. So your lining looks like this. Wrong side is out. Your exterior looks like this. The right side is out. We're going to put this in here, and this is challenging, you know, because you're putting in that small spot. I'll tell you what I did is I went ahead, and I might make my opening a little bigger, but what I did on my first one is I went ahead and pulled half my bag, the exterior, through this opening so that it was easier to get it all stuffed in there. So half of my bag was already hanging out. I think I'll have to do that again because this one's even bulkier where it has the foam attached, but let me just see if I can before I start making my opening bigger. Okay, so I did make the opening of my lining a little bit bigger. I did go ahead and pull some of my exterior out, so it's like a partial berth there. This just gives me a little bit more room so that I can line up all my seams and clip them perfectly. So that's the bottom. When I flip it over, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my side gusset first, and I'm going to match it up exactly with the lining gusset. I'm going to be using lots of clips to hold everything in place because it's going to be kind of a tight fit, which is what you want. I'm going to make sure that all my D-rings, my straps, my key minders, flaps, everything's kind of smushed down in there. I don't want anything hanging out. So we're just lining up the side seam. Oops. Okay. So after you get your first side seam clipped, go ahead and do your second side seam, and then we will ease the rest of the edges around and clip them together. But do your side seams first because that's the trickiest part, and getting those matched up will kind of help you know where the rest of the bag needs to go. Okay, so let's look at what we got. Our lining is wrong side out. Our exterior is right side touching the lining. And so we can look inside and just see the wrong side of our exterior. I have the side seams all clipped. So there's 4 side seams you clip first, and then you just go ahead and ease the rest of the fabric around. And you can see it's a little crazy looking in there, but we're going to sew all around this perimeter of the bag at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then what we're going to do is turn it right through here at the berth. You can see half of my exterior, well not half, but a little bit of my exterior is already coming out, so we'll pull the rest of it out and then finish with the top stitching and closing the hole. Now after I sew this 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and trim it down a little bit just to save on a little bit of the bulk after I get it sewed together. So I stitched a 1/2 inch seam allowance along the top, and I went ahead and trimmed that down. Now the next step is of course to turn the bag, to berth it through this opening at the bottom. Come back whenever the bag has been turned. After we turn the bag, the only things we're going to do left, top stitch around the top and close up our opening. So I have my bag turned right sides out. It looks amazing. So I'm just going to take some time to poke out my corners, push them out really good, and get everything the way I want it. But I went ahead and checked my flap, and it works good. I mean, it fits properly, so that's great. So then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on top stitching. So you can see that let me push this out a little bit. You can see that my lining is up a little bit. I don't want it to show, so I'm just going to finger roll that down and push it down and clip it that way. I just want that lining to be tucked under and just the exterior show. So I'm going to do this all around the bag, clipping as I go, and then I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch away to finish off the top of the bag. So I have the top of the bag clipped and I have my lining tucked down, so I'm just seeing my exterior from the exterior side. I want to top stitch all around this. Now I don't want to top stitch my flap inside. So now that we have the top stitching done on the bag, the last thing to do is to pull out that opening in the interior and close it up. You can do this by hand or you can do it on the machine. I always do it on the machine. I just don't really think it matters to a lot of people if they can see it, especially in this bag. I think it'd even be a little hard to see where there's different compartments and dividers. So I just clipped that bottom edge closed. I just folded it in. Now I'm just sewing 1/8 of an inch away from that folded edge just to close up the bottom. So everything is pretty much done except for that strap. This pattern is such an amazing pattern because the inside of the bag is just gorgeous. And I did make several errors, as always, on a bag. My bags are never perfect. I don't expect them to be. I'm not perfect. I'm a human. I'm not a machine. So it doesn't bother me if my bags aren't perfect. And I hope you feel the same way about your own bags. But I can't wait to see how your bag turns out and everything. So please, under the link for this video, post a picture of your finished bag. You have until Sunday night to post your bag. I will be randomly choosing the winner of the giveaway on Monday morning and post it there. Thank you so much for sewing along. We hope to do more of these, and I hope you will join us on the next one. Thank you.